Hello.
Well, hello. Is this my good friend Ursula the Sea Witch?
Yes, this is my poor unfortunate soul.
Well, on the line with me, everyone, I have my good friend, Miss Buff Faye. Welcome to the show. How are you, my love?
I am doing great. Thank you for letting me be on your messy little show here.
But I hear you're kind of tired today because, girl, you've been on a whirlwind tour in the last 3 days
Don't
or
be calling
longer.
me tired. We just started. My gosh. Uh,
But
no,
that's
I'm
how
not
much
tired.
love.
I am vibrant and young and fresh, fishy. Ugh.
Girl, there you go. There you go.
But yeah,
That's
it's been a busy day. We had brunch and been traveling, getting ready for everything going on in my life.
okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, welcome to the show. We're going to start off with a couple questions, go into some other stuff, and then something at towards the end that you're going to reveal as to what's going on next with Buffet. So, how did the name and Buffet come to be?
Oh my! Well, that's the story everyone wants to know. It involved rugby men, softball, and leather men. So it's
Ooh.
all mixed up together. I know it was definitely a birth worth witnessing.
Mhm.
So I always had a big heart for charity, and Miss Tammy Faye, where I live in Charlotte, North Carolina,
Mhm.
she actually has a long history with queer people, and particularly with HIV and AIDS, accepting people living with HIV and helping create acceptance in the Christian community. And so my rugby team and my softball team and we're all about like, you're a buffet, you clean the plate or you tackle the guys and
Mm.
so yeah, so I was like, you know what? I need to take the two and mash them up a little bit. And so it's Buff and then Faye, like Tammy Faye,
Mhm.
because, as we drag is part of history. And why not take on a name that means something, big girl, plus size, and, an icon to queer people who made a difference with their life.
Most definitely, she was very fabulous, and so are you. I remember my first time seeing you on stage was at EOY, and when you came out in that buffet, that whole table and everything, even though it wasn't what we expected, but I was like, this girl. I was like, who is this queen? Turn around, and she
Uh,
was serving. So I was like, oh,
well, yeah,
uh,
that food was all fake food around the buffet.
mm,
And real story, Tammy Faye, her daughter, Miss Tammy Sue, came to
mm-hmm.
one of my first drag brunches.
Oh,
And this was after Tammy had just passed away, and said, my mama would have loved you. And it was just so sweet. And I just what a memory of mine that really kind of brought all that full circle. But thank you. I try to be a little bit different.
oh no, most definitely. I mean, if anything, what you brought to EOY was phenomenal, but we'll talk about that later. So let me ask you this. Who helped you shape who you become today? I know you said you had your team and all that, but did you have a drag mom, a drag father, or anything like that to help shape you?
Well, my drag mom is still alive, so yes, I still have her. At least I think
Mm-hmm.
she's still alive. She's over at her house right now, probably
Mm-hmm.
enjoying her for something. I don't know what she's
Cool.
doing, but you can bleep that out if you need to. But her name is Miss Sierra Santana, and she's the one who put me in drag for my rugby event. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
it was about rugby event at the Leather Bar, right?
Ooh.
And it was called Ms. Crown Royal, and it was all the rugby guys in drag for the first time. And she said, "I'll put you in drag." And so I think she was trying to flirt with me, but I was like, "No way." But she put me in drag, and I did the song "Big, Blonde and Beautiful" from Hairspray.
Mm.
And that was kind of like her influence, and I would always go out and watch her. And she was a big girl, and she was really just a kind person and had a big heart. And she still is involved with my life and helps
Awesome.
me. And yeah, so I love that. And then of course, all the queens that I interact with
Mm-hmm.
influence me in some way or another, because I'm always like stealing or borrowing or like
Yeah.
seeing something I like, and trying to learn and grow as an artist.
Now, let's talk about the one thing that you're very known for, which is your creativity. Where does that come from? Because, girl, if we could bottle that and sell it, half of these queens would be, ooh. Where does this creativity come from?
Well, first of all, I'm a kid at heart. I've never lost that spirit of being a kid, and drag for me is about like exploring and to boldly go where no drag queen's gone before, and to think about, okay, I could do this, but how could I do it a little bit different? And I just, I'm usually on an airplane or in bed or going somewhere at a theme park, probably Disney, and I'm like, oh, I could incorporate that, or I can. Why not an inflatable? Or my next big thing is hopefully drones. I want to have a drone kind of like be part of my outfit and like take off on stage. But what I worry about is like some of these places where I do shows after I'm done or a pageant, they start creating rules so I can't do things like that anymore. And I'm like, my God, I'm not killing
no
an
drones
animal.
For you.
But creativity for me is what I love about drag. Right. And, that and the message is particularly, about politics and having a perspective. And, people come to be entertained. And, you can be a dancer, you can be a creative queen, you can be a glamorous queen. And I just try to dabble and learn from so many people and put my own twist on things. And I mean, creativity, if it isn't, present in what I do, then it's not Buff Faye.
No, most definitely. I understand that. Now, one last thing about the whole creativity thing. Do you particularly keep like a little book, or is this all just in your head that you just come back to? Or do you, because I always like to ask this, do you have a little buffet book that you put on the side, and say, hey, let me write that down, or on a tablet or anything like that?
I have a restaurant menu. I put it in with all the appetizers, the main courses. I eat and I'm like, oh yeah, that works. Actually, I have a secret sauce, and it's my husband. My husband is super creative, and we just sit around coming up with ideas and.
Hold up! Let's not talk about that just yet, because that's coming up next. So hold on tight, everyone. No. Buffet won't give away her secrets just yet. So hold on tight, everyone. We'll be right back with Buffet. And we're back with Miss Buff Faye. And before break, we were talking about the creativity and having a team behind you. And you started talking about the special person that helps you with that. And who would that be?
Well, I was talking about my secret sauce now, y'all.
Yeah.
So it's 2 all beef patty special sauce. And that would be my husband, Tommy Feldman. Yes, we've been together 28 years now.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know a long time. He's mostly drunk most of the time, so that's how he kind of stays with me. But no, he's super creative, and he loves drag, and he loves a costume, and if you ever seen him in a pageant, he's the one yelling and screaming the loudest, and being the dance mom in the back, and he gets so nervous at pageants and.
He's your Abby Lee.
I mean, but he's part of my team. Obviously, he's my number one, and I just couldn't do it without him. And then, of course, I always put together a team of artists who are mostly my friends or people who are professionals in the field. And but Tommy's the number one, and he keeps me moving. And right now, he calls it the drag amazing race whenever I'm preparing for a pageant, because things just are nonstop. And I had 3 brunches this weekend. I flew back from Dallas. I was in Lexington. I was in Ohio, all preparing for this big pageant. So he is so supportive, and he's the one, actually, for the ladies listening, he packs up my drag for me and gets all my outfits together, and then he puts them away afterwards.
Girl, so, this is a PG show. Quick, you're getting all these girls all excited. Don't do that. Yeah, I'll be getting people talking about, I thought this was a clean show. Miss Buffet talking about all this packing and doing all this stuff. Girl.
Well, you said it was messy. Remember when I did Divine and I ate poop on stage? You remember this?
Yeah.
At EOI?
Uh-huh.
Oh my God. Like that was messy. I did Divine and I had three hot boys in like US of A flag underwear. And I don't know if it was Nina West or someone who was watching was like, they just about spit up because they were just so like, my God, look what she's doing on that stage.
Exactly.
That is messy, girl. That's messy for your show. So I'm trying to live up to that.
Try to live it up. All right. So next one is, what titles have you won and which one has been the most special to you?
Wow. Well, now EOI, obviously. I mean, it's creative. It's about entertainment. I worked hard for 5 years. I grew as an artist and really, created a home and a family of entertainers and people I love with EOI. And it was the first time I kind of went out of my state of North Carolina to try something. But, I would say EOI, the national title, was by far currently, in my career as an artist it still has a very special place in my heart. And I mean, all the formers, the forever EOIs are just amazing people. So there's that. And of course at home, our Pride, Miss Charlotte Pride, I won the $1.98 pageant, which was my first pageant, which was a camp pageant, because my roots are all in camp, baby. Like, and but EOI, I've met some fabulous people like Carmela Marcela Garcia. I met her the year that I got second alternate with Danielle winning the pageant, and that relationship there and being able to be inspired by her really pushed me forward, and she gave me that encouragement, because after that pageant I put my heart out there, and then not to win by, I think it was like 13, 14 points, but that's when you're just like, okay, do I do this again? And it was Carmela who pushed me forward, and we kind of kept that relationship going. She was there, at least in spirit, on the computer when I won that night. And, bless her soul, I love her and miss her. But those are the types of things, Ginger Manchester, I have to throw that name in there, because I was there the night that Ginger Manchester won, standing and holding her hand, right? And before we went out there, she looks at me, she goes, Buff Faye, she goes, I want you to know, we do this not for that crown, we do it for the sisterhood. And you are my new sister. And she was there when I won. She drove all the way from her house to be there for my birthday party that year. But that's why it holds a special place in my heart, are people and stories like that.
Okay. Now, you are known as our lovely EOI COVID queen, which was one of the longest reigns, because almost 2 years now? Roughly about 2 years. With that experience, what would you say changed the way you reigned or the way you approached getting prelims? How did that whole experience, be it was during time of COVID, affect you and affect your reign?
Yeah, I mean, that question is just a book and a half. COVID was just something that all of us were differently impacted by, and being a national title holder, and I think we're up to 12 prelims going into like December, and then all of a sudden January, February, March, COVID was in the news and kind of took over the whole world, and all those slowly started not being possible, and then it got like, what do I do? Like, I can't go anywhere. I'm in my house. So many queens, including myself, became Steven Spielberg, and we started producing content in our homes, and my husband being an artist. And so we did, actual events, the Corn Queens is what we called them, for our friends to raise money online. And, I posted videos and photos as a national title holder. I went and hosted events online to talk about, like, whether it be drag bingo or to talk about what's going on. I think What's the Cheese Sis was another show. Like, we became, producers on television.
Yeah, I remember the Halloween show that we did. Remember that you were on, you did your thing, and I came on the show with you. So, and,
and then Pataya and I and some of the other national title holders did a panel. I showed up at Miss Gay America's 24-hour telethon event. And so, we as a pageant community bonded together. Unfortunately, I lost my mom during that time. She was so proud of me winning EOI, and she was going to come that year to see my step down. And so I lost her during that time, and that was emotionally just really a very dark and difficult time for me. And EOY kind of helped me process. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm done processing, but EOY and that, my step down was a way for me to honor my mom and to honor other folks. So we lost, 3-4 promoters at EOY.
We lost, which, I believe, was Arthur, and then was it
Ginger, and we lost John.
John, yeah, John, Ginger, and I think Arthur too. So
yeah, and then not to COVID, but Ginger's husband. But we lost so many people that just in our lives, and so I refuse to see my EOY reign as a title holder as being a victim, although it's very easy to feel like for some reason that you didn't achieve what you needed to. But I feel really in my heart that it was a moment for me to be building community and help people grieve and to help people process their own experience with COVID in a way that helps them move forward. And I was doing that for my own grief and pain. And then ultimately, obviously, I gave up my title, and that was a beautiful moment. Sharing about my mother and her life, and coming back as Ursula from the darkest seas, and it was a beautiful time. But that's what I remember from that very long 2-year reign.
But you know what? It was great because we did work together during that time, and I honestly, I will say this, and I never got an opportunity to really thank you, but you gave me an award that year that I had never in my life have gotten an award or anything recognition-wise for help. So that will always live in my heart. And actually, talking about the award, I actually moved it today because I had to put it in a new little space. So it's still alive and well. So,
well, you do so much for EOI and so much for all the queens, and I believe in giving people flowers while they're still alive and well, and it's beautiful. And I am that year and keeping the system alive, and well, and keeping the branding out there. Paris was hopefully able to kind of pick it up, and then Chantel. That's what the legacy is about.
No, most definitely. So. Now let's talk, and then we'll take a little break. But I want to go into this. Of course, you are nationally known for your brunches in the Carolinas. Now, what and how do you come up with the concepts? Because I know you've taken it to big stage. You've had different brunches that you have all around. Tell us a little bit about the concept and how do you do, and how did it come about?
Yeah, well, I was originally at the very first drag brunch, the Last Supper with Jesus and all the disciples, and I said, "This is a great idea. We should
you had me thinking for a second. Don't do that." I was like, "What is she saying?"
All those beautiful men in those gowns and the long hair. There's Buff Faye. I'm like, "Yeah, we need more than wine and bread. Okay,
let them eat cake.
Something about this,
right?"
I'm like, that was something. Like, nobody wants to come just for wine and bread. So we had to do something about that. But no, seriously, I've always been an entrepreneur. And, here in Charlotte, there really wasn't, back in the 2000s, our brunch started in 2009. 2007, when I started doing drag, when I was at the Eagle, the leather bar, I would do an all-you-can-eat Sunday drag show. And I would serve ham biscuits during the drag show. And so that got me thinking, I'm like, well, my name's Buff Faye. I should always have food. And I said, there's a lesbian bar. Lesbians love food. And I started this lesbian bar that was called Hardigan's. And we basically took over their bar on Sundays, and we served food. And that's kind of how it got going. But no straight or, other, mainstream type of restaurants would really do brunches here in Charlotte back in the, the 2000s, but the early 2000s. But now everybody wants to do a drag brunch, obviously, and it's everywhere. It's kind of like the new thing, particularly for straight people, because 80% of my audience are usually, these straight people, mostly men, because they come to see me, of course. But, these straight families, men, they enjoy themselves. But, I have 8 locations. I'm very fortunate, and each one's a little bit different. I have a vegan, restaurant that does it. I have an Italian restaurant. I have 2 wine bars. I have a sports bar for those who like to play with balls and sports, and then I have but there's 8 locations right now, and that means I'm pretty busy every weekend. But that's what I don't know. I all of us are getting older, and I just want to live and enjoy my drag. And because of these, and because of things like EOY and some of the pageants, Miss Gay America, and I've done these big productions, I had the local concert venue, which seats like 600, reach out to me and say, we want to bring in a drag queen to produce a big drag show for us. So like those pageants and those productions and everything that I've been able to do with the brunches, it creates a brand that people begin to trust and enjoy and know that they can get a quality experience. And so, that's how it's kind of picked up. And I did 'Twas the Drag Show before Christmas, last Christmas, which sold out 600 seats. And I was, and these weren't cheap seats, but it was a great time. This year I did the Dragnificent Story Hour. So it's all just continued to multiply and magnify and be there since the very first one with the Last Supper. I mean, Jesus would be proud.
And speaking of Jesus, we're now going to go ahead and take a break. We'll be right back.
Bless you.
We have Buff Faye on the line, and this is Talk Mess with Adrian. We're back, and we're on the line. We have Miss Buff Faye, and she was just telling us about her good friend Jesus and poop and a whole bunch of stuff. So if you missed that, you got to go back and listen because, let me tell you. Now, on a serious note,
what would Jesus do, really?
Exactly, right? Poop. But anyways, tell us a little bit about the nonprofit that you are involved in.
Yeah, so actually, part of my life has been drag, and that's been really recent. I didn't start doing drag until, I don't want people to figure out my age, but it was later in my life. But I started doing drag very late. That's why, I think I've had more resources than girls maybe who start earlier, but I have a professional life, and and that helps provide for my drag, and it's running a nonprofit for LGBTQ plus young people, and I have a board of directors, and it's called Campus Pride. We work with over 1,400 different colleges, and as I mentioned early on, drag was all about charity for me and raising money. Well, I wanted to raise money for the charity that I created and believed in, and was helping young people create a safe space and build leadership skills. And so drag was a way for me to get in front of people and say, hey, give money and donate, and my tips will go to the charity. We do a drag race, kind of a dress up activity, and people perform. And last year I raised, $15,000+ and it, part of it went to Campus Pride and then 2 other charities. But that organization is thriving right now, which,
That's awesome.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and for trans young people, queer people of color, we need organizations like Campus Pride all across the country. And, we just released our Best of the Best list, which is the best campuses for LGBTQ young people. And we're getting ready to release the worst list. We have a leadership camp in the summer called Camp Pride, which is a 5-day, 5-night social justice camp. So, I mean, I do that full time, and drag is just a way to really raise money for Campus Pride and other charities, as well, of course, to have fun and enjoy myself. But Campus Pride has always been there. I started that in 2001. So, you can do the math. It's almost 25 years now that Campus Pride's been around. And as a queer young person growing up in the state of Kansas with Dorothy and, the Wizard of Oz, it was very lonely and isolating. And so I created Campus Pride, and now we've grown to, like I said, over 1,400 different colleges that we support through our programs and services.
Now, can you tell people where they can visit Campus Pride online so like that they could get more information and actually look at those lists of the good and the bad?
Yeah, I mean, you can Google Campus Pride. That's one way. The website. I'm joking. The
Ooh.
website is campuspride.org. Pretty simple, campuspride.org. We also have an Instagram that you can follow, just at Campus Pride. We have TikTok with this at Campus Pride Official. So we're everywhere. You can check it out. I have student volunteers and interns and a small staff, and like I said, our board of directors. So if you want to volunteer, we're always looking for volunteers to help support the work that we do. And of course, I usually bug people at least twice a year to give $10 or $20 for Give Out Day or Giving Tuesday. So, if you're my friend on Facebook or one of the apps, you probably hear from me at least twice a year.
Yeah. So, what is next for Buff Faye? What's coming up as far as pageant, or give us that big news? What you're doing next?
Yeah, so, I have been on a whirlwind. Again, Tommy called it the drag amazing race, right, where I get ready for a pageant. So, luckily for me, you build relationships and friendships through drag, and even with designers. And sometimes the designers are in different places than Charlotte, North Carolina. Most times they always are. And so like Patrick Howell, who is an Emmy award-winning graphic designer, him and his husband, Troy, they're in Lexington, and then I, working with people like Gustavo in New York or Troy Ford in LA. And so, I sometimes have to travel these places to get fitted, pick up things. I recently worked with Coco Vega. There's just so many amazing artists. So the drag race that Tommy refers to is me running around trying to pick up everything, get ready for a pageant. And so I am looking at Miss Gay US of A at large. I got my ticket, I know, in June. And that, like I mentioned, Carmela Marcela Garcia, right? She was the first Miss Gay US of A at large. There's just been so many amazing individuals, plus size queens, big girls who've won that pageant. And so I'm doing that this week. So I leave first thing, I think at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
To fly this week. The pageant starts on Wednesday night. And, then it goes a 3-night pageant. And that's like my next big thing as far as the world of drag and pageantry. Yeah, I know. I'm super excited. And it'll be my first time competing there. And the categories are interview, they are gown or evening wear, and then talent. So pretty straightforward, and I know I'm ready to go.
You got that in the bag, girl. Just ask Jesus.
Ask Jesus. I'm gonna be.
I'm not gonna let you live that down, girl.
Do my best.
So, all right, as we end this show, because this is always the last question I like to ask my guests, what would you tell young Buff Faye if you were able to go back in time? What would be advice that you would give her?
Well, tell Jesus you want some extra bottles of wine when you're visiting. No. I think what's important to me is to tell my younger self to take care of yourself, give yourself some love and that self-acceptance that you are asking for from other people, but sometimes those people aren't prepared to give that to you. So just love yourself and take care of yourself. Don't let negative eating, and your needs for that acceptance to turn to patterns where you overeat or try to take care, try to like substitute love for, with food. Think about that, because you want to live a long life and you want to continue, doing good stuff for people. And, that's what my younger self needed to hear. And I think that, my goal is to live as long as possible and continue doing good stuff. But we're on a short ride here, and you got to do as much as you can. So that's why I'm on the drag amazing race, because I got lots to do.
Definitely.
But that's why I tell my younger self, and enjoy and celebrate and like take a moment to just friends that you have all around you, just cherish them, because they're not going to be there, and your family. And I've lost my dad to a drunk driver, and I lost my mom to COVID. So there's going to be parts of your life that are going to test you, and it's going to show you that you only get tested to be stronger, and there's a reason why, and you're not always going to know. But continue to share your story, continue to be passionate about what you do, and make a difference, a positive difference in people's lives.
And you definitely check off every single thing, because you are definitely a positive person. someone I look up to when it comes to creativity and just overall. I absolutely love you, and that's being as a friend and as an artist. So I always congratulate you because I think that you are up there when it comes to the cream of the crop, madame. And I say that from the bottom of my heart. So we're going to go.
Adrian, I love you too. And, EOI has become a family reunion, and you're like one of my big brothers there, and I just love you to death. So,
brother, girl? Brother.
Okay, what do you want me to call you?
I'm the sis, mother. No, don't go.
Will be a mama.
I'm gonna be the mama. No, but
does that make George and Eddie like Jesus or something?
Yeah, probably. They're the seasoned owners because that's our new thing.
I love that.
They're seasoned. But anyways, I want to thank you for coming on the show. I'm glad that we got this opportunity to talk. It was a good time, and I hope that folks out there enjoy getting to know a little bit more about you and about your brunches and everything that you've gone through, which it hasn't been an easy ride, but it's been a ride that you'll never forget, right?
Yep, all this mess called life, right?
There you go.
We're messy tonight.
There you go. Well, that was it for this show, and we had Miss Buff Faye. My name is Adrian, and this is Talk Mess.